Greetings, Guardians! Hope everyone's doing well. Since you clicked on this video, we can both agree that you're struggling with your drip.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
But that's okay. Admitting your drip is trash is the first step to not drowning, but to rise for the drip. But before we begin, let me thank my wonderful thumbnail artist, Al, for helping me with the script and thumbnail for this video. Seriously, thank you. I couldn't do what I do without you. This will be a 4-part series where, in this episode, we will cover the basics of drip, shaders, and more, and the rest will dive more deeply into class-specific exotics and how to make them look good. Now, without further ado, let's get into fixing your Guardian drip, shall we? First off, you will need to understand what shaders do. Not only do they obviously color your armor, but you will see that certain shaders will affect the texture of your armor. These shaders have additional effects on different materials such as metals, Kevlar, plastic, rubber, leather, glass, and cloth. Even light color and brightness. Y'all remember the pre-nerfed Gambit Jadestone shader, right? Yeah, that was crazy. But before I get into all of that, let me introduce you to my thumbnail artist, Al, who will teach you the basics of color theory and the principles of drip.
Hello, I'm Owl. I'm the one responsible for most of the thumbnails created for this channel. I'm also an artist and a writer, and I'm looking forward to sharing some of my knowledge with you guys. In order to make your drip look acceptable, you must first understand some of the basics of color theory. It sounds complicated, but I swear it's really simple. Let me show you. This is a basic color wheel. Here we have all of our primary and secondary colors nicely displayed for us. Colors that are next to each other on the color wheel are pleasing to the eye when put next to each other because they are similar in appearance. This will allow you to have more varied colors, and therefore you will avoid having monochromatic, eye-numbing armor. Colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel, however, are called contrasting or complementary colors. This is because when placed next to each other, they pop and make the other look brighter. You can utilize contrasting colors to highlight an important part of your armor. Now to something more complex. To avoid using a bunch of unnecessary jargon, I will simply be referring to this next bit of color variation as saturation. When a color is fully saturated, it will look very strong and bold, while a color with very little saturation will look washed out. Mixing high saturated colors with low saturated colors will have a similar effect as contrasting colors. The higher saturated color will pop when surrounded with low saturation. Another thing to keep in mind is how light or dark the colors you are working with are. An example of a light color would be sky blue, while an example of a dark color would be navy blue. When placed next to each other, they look more vibrant, just like with contrasting colors. Textures can be applied with shaders, and while I think it should be its own separate item, texturing your armor can help you tell a story. Selecting armor with texture can also create interest and help with your armor's context, something I'll get into later. Texture is something important that you should be aware of. Does the armor you wear have some tears in it? Does it have fur, or does it look metallic? I'll let TG guide you through the specifics.
Each class can take advantage of the different textures and random colors that shaders may be hiding. Titans have the most bulky armor sets, which can have Kevlar, plastic, metal, and leather, so you can have a rusted knight look if you so choose, or a dirty crucible juggernaut using the sweet business and Actium war rig combo. One of the most important aspects of your armor is not to feel limited to just one shader, because all shaders are not created equally. Sometimes it works with all the armor you have on, sometimes they clash. So use your imagination and experiment with your catalog of shaders to find the best available one that suits your style. You'd be surprised to see what a blue and black shader will do to fabric and leather, or how some shaders have hidden patterns in them, such as oiled gunmetal, giving fabrics a dark camo pattern, and iron countershade, turning your fabrics into chainmail, allowing you to enter that knight aesthetic I mentioned previously. But keep in mind that you may find a shader you like that looks terrible on the armor you choose. So make sure you experiment and pay attention to how the shader and the armor flow together.
Being aware of the textures and colors in your armor will help you stay consistent. Create patterns in your armor and stay within your color palette. Use similar textures and similar colors. If you want to make a shiny green and red Titan, don't add torn blue gloves. The exception to this would be if you were trying to tell a story with those blue gloves, which moves us to our next topic. Figuring out how your guardian should look can be difficult. This is where storytelling and context come into play. To build a story, you can draw inspiration from the subclass you are using. How does your guardian wield that subclass? For example, do they use solar to burn or heal? You can also look towards your equipped exotics. What weapon are you using? What is the description of your exotic armor piece? If you're using Sweet Business, perhaps you are a futuristic super soldier. Or if you're running well, perhaps you are a royal knight or a medic. Use this inspiration as a guideline for your armor and color palette. Context is very similar to storytelling. However, instead of creating a story, you are taking elements from the story of Destiny 2 itself. Do you want to lean into your class identity, or do you want to oppose it? What are the laws of the Destiny universe, and how can you use them as inspiration? Do you wear the armor of slain enemies, or do you wear the banner of an allied species? And most importantly, how will you convey this through your armor? Those are some of the questions you can ask yourself. You could use all of what I mentioned above to enhance your drip, but still slightly miss the mark. That's because there's still one more factor I haven't told you about: balance. It's really important that your character doesn't end up looking top heavy, or rather head heavy. The solution to this is actually rather simple. If you're using slim armor, don't put on a bulky helmet. If you're using bulky armor, don't put on slim leggings. Seriously, what are you planning to do with those? Staying consistent with the style of armor you choose can help maintain balance.
That looks like it covers everything. Remember that these tips can be applied in any game that you play and in your everyday wardrobe IRL. I hope you enjoyed the video and have learned something that you can apply to your own drip. And I would like to see it in my Discord. Join the Discord via the link below and share your new Guardian drip. We will give feedback and advice on how you can tackle your fashion. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Titan Games.
And my name is Owl.
Thanks for watching.
Perfect.
Flawless.